In this ACT video, we're going to look at positive and negative numbers. In a previous ACT video, we've already compared whole numbers and decimals, and we always use the number line to help us put these numbers in perspective. With positive and negative numbers, the number line especially is helpful. So let's put some numbers up here, and we like to start with the number 0. And we talked about the numbers to the right of the 0. 1, 2, 3, 4. And these positive numbers. Positive numbers are located to the right of the 0. And the farther we go away from the 0, the bigger these numbers get. And now let's explore the left side of the 0. And we've got -1, -2, -3. We'll just stop at -4. And on the left side of the 0, we have negative numbers. And so together, this group of numbers, we call these integers. And as we go from 0 farther to the left, these numbers actually get smaller. Okay. Another term we want to look at before we get started making some comparisons is absolute value. And absolute value of a number is the distance. Okay, so let's keep that word in mind. It's the distance that a number is from 0 on the number line. So say we wanted to know the absolute value of -4. Well, you can use the number line to help you find that. Here's 0, here's -1, here's -2, here's -3, here's -4. And those bars around the -4 mean absolute value, which means distance. I want you to think distance. And so if we count, -4 is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away from 0. It just happens to be 4 units to the left. But the distance is 4 units, and distance is always a positive number. So when you find the absolute value of a number, your answer should always be positive. Let's look at the absolute value of 3. Okay, so we have the bars around the 3, which means absolute value, which you should start thinking, okay, distance. So 1, 2, 3, and we'll count, and the number 3 is 1, 2, 3 units away from 0. It just happens to be 3 units to the right of the 0. So the absolute value is still +3. So we can actually say, if you want to, we could compare the absolute value of -4 to the absolute value of 3. And we already found the absolute value of -4 is 4. The absolute value of +3 is 3. So the absolute value of -4 is greater than the absolute value of +3. Now, integers, decimals, and fractions can be positive or negative. So when we compare numbers, we could compare positives, negatives, decimals, fractions, positive fractions, negative fractions, etc. And first of all, an easy rule to remember is positive numbers, I'm going to abbreviate here, positive numbers are always bigger than negative numbers or greater than negative numbers. And then likewise, we could say that backwards and say that negative numbers would have to always be smaller or less than positive numbers. So you don't even have to know much about the numbers if you're comparing a positive and a negative. So let's look at an example. Let's compare 3/4 to -0.178. Well, 3/4 is positive and -0.178 is negative. A positive number is always bigger or greater than a negative number. Okay. Now, if the signs are different, if the signs are the same, let's compare two fractions. Negative 1/2 compared to negative 7/8. Well, you should have your calculator with you on ACT day. If you do, you could always convert these two fractions to decimals and then compare the decimals. But if not, when you're comparing two fractions and they have the same sign, they're both negative, or if they're both positive, these just happen to be both negative, you can simply cross multiply. So what I mean by that is 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. And when I cross multiply here, 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Now we'll just compare these two integers, and negative 8 is bigger than negative 14. And if you're unsure about that, you can always put 0 on the number line. Negative 8 is closer to 0, so that makes negative 8 bigger. Remember, when we're talking about negative numbers, the numbers that are farthest away from 0 are smaller. Okay, so that means negative 8 is bigger. So in that case, it means negative 1/2 is bigger than negative 7/8. Let's look at some ACT type questions. Number 1 says the symbol less than could be used to make all of the following true except which one? All right, so let's take a look, and we're going to try each one of these and see if less than makes it true. And sometimes the wording can get you a little bit twisted, so if you'll check each answer choice, you'll see that one stands out as being different, and that should be your answer. Okay, so what I mean by that is, let's look at answer choice A. We've got the absolute value of negative 14 compared to 5. The absolute value of negative 14 is positive 14. So we're really comparing 14 to 5. And 14 is definitely bigger than 5. Okay, so the less than does not hold true. But let's check the others just to make sure we didn't make a mistake. On answer choice B, we're comparing the absolute value of 12, which is 12, and we're comparing it to 32. And 12 is smaller than 32, so we say 12 is less than 32. And answer choice C, we're comparing 17 to the absolute value of negative 20. The absolute value of negative 20 is positive 20. And 17 is definitely less than 20. So that holds true as well. Less than, less than. All right, answer choice D, we're comparing the absolute value of negative 8 to positive 21. And the absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8 compared to 21. And 8 is definitely smaller, less than 21. So it holds true again. And lastly, let's just check E. And we're comparing negative 5 to negative 1. And if you need your number line, remember negative 1 is closer to 0. So that makes negative 1 bigger. That means negative 5 is less than. So the less than sign holds true for answer choices B, C, D, and E. So our answer is A because it does not hold true for answer choice A. All right, so let's take a look at another ACT type question. Okay, we got a lot going on here. So it says, given the following, which of the following choice contains all true statements? All right, so let's see. What we want to do is we want to go up here and let's see, analyze these situations. It's much like the last one we did, except it's worded differently. This Roman numeral 1, we're looking at the absolute value of negative 5 is less than 3. Well, the absolute value of negative 5 is actually positive 5. And positive 5 is not less than 3. Positive 5 is certainly bigger, so that's false. So I'm going to put a line through that, so that doesn't even tempt me to choose as an answer choice. All right, number 2. All right, we don't have anything to change here because we don't have any absolute value bars. And negative 6 is greater than negative 12. Well, if you need your number line, here's 0, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, negative 6 is here, negative 12 is here. Negative 6 is actually closer to 0, so that makes it bigger, so that's true. And number 3 should be easy to determine because a positive number is always going to be greater than a negative number, so number Roman numeral 3 is also true. So which of the following choice contain all true statements? And we're looking for 2 and 3. So 2 and 3 would be answer choice D. Answer choice D. Okay, let's take a look at one more, number 3. Which of the following is the largest number? Okay, so again, they're throwing in some absolute value here, and they're throwing in some numbers that look large but have negatives in front of it. So remember that the farther away it is from 0 to the left, it's actually smaller. So let's convert our absolute values to what they really are. The absolute value of negative 105 is actually positive 105. And the absolute value of 100 is actually 100. And they want to know which one's the largest. So what I would do next is throw out these negative numbers. Those are certainly not large. Negative numbers are actually very small. So what we're really doing is comparing the 105, the 120, and the 100. And out of all those, 120 is the biggest, so our answer choice is C.